Will the Giants be good? Will Daniel Jones be able to support this team and take them to a playoff appearance? And will the offensive line support Saquon Barkley? Hear it all here in the Sports Scoop. If you enjoy sports content, so I think he has everything he needs around him this year. The Bay Buccaneers, Ali Marpet.
I'm doing well. I'm someone that knows the game pretty well.
Drafted third overall by the Boston Celtics.
Yo, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another podcast from the Sports Scoop. Today we are going to be discussing the Giants and how we predict they will do in 2020. Our criteria is we're going to talk about players, offseason, free agency, and included in offseason free agency and the draft, and then we're going to predict their record and just basically overall talk about if we think they're going to be better or worse. Me and Charlie, we both love the Giants' favorite team, so we'll try not to be biased, and I don't think we are. So let's get straight into it. So for the first thing we have, we're just going to talk about some of the players. So I want to talk about Daniel Jones first. I think he's a good quarterback, and I think he can be a franchise quarterback for this team. And I think he showed a lot of that last year. I think everyone was excited that Tampa Bay game when he basically got us that win. That was really exciting as a Giants fan. And I think he can carry this team, and I think this year's a big decider. Because he's going to be a full star this year as he was the backup to Eli Manning last year. So I think this is his year to prove that he can be that player and prove that he's better than Kyler Murray and is that franchise quarterback better than Drew Lock and all of these other younger quarterbacks that are going to start this year. So I think this is a deciding year for him, and I like him in this season. I think he'll do well. But I think, there's obviously some downsides. He fumbles a lot. He goes for some risky jumping onto the ball or getting first downs, which you like. You like being a risky quarterback, but you like having a risky quarterback, but then problems occur like injuries, just turnovers in general. He had a lot of them. He does throw a lot of interceptions, which that needs to be definitely not brushed up on. And I think he's definitely been working over the offseason. But, Charlie, what do you think about Daniel Jones?
I think Daniel Jones had his moments last year. He was, I think, an all-right quarterback across the year. He had his moments where he was really good, again, as you mentioned, in that game against Tampa Bay. But for a lot of the year, he made a lot of rookie mistakes. He lost the ball a lot.
Right.
I found myself when I was watching Giants games, it was just turnover after turnover, and most of them coming at Jones's hands, considering Saquon has not fumbled the ball once in his career. So Jones needs to be able to hold on to the ball. He threw a lot of interceptions. He fumbled way too many times. And I think this doesn't necessarily have to be his make-or-break year. He definitely has to play well this year, but I think for a lot of quarterbacks, that third year, he's got to be good by that third year to be considered a franchise quarterback. So I think Jones will be a big deciding point. I don't know about the Giants' playoff chances, even if he does play well.
Yeah.
Just because their defense is still lacking.
Right.
But another player I wanted to talk about, Saquon Barkley. Again, he was hurt last year for how many games? 5 or 6 games?
Yeah, about a little bit under half of the season, I would say.
A little under half the season, yet he was still a 1,000-yard rusher, which just is a lot. He did not have the greatest start to the season, then he was hurt. And then when he came back, he wasn't the same. And then the last 2 or 3 games, he had, I think, 150, 200 yards each game. So I think he can play well under big circumstances, and I think at this point he's regarded as one of the better running backs in the league, and especially since the Giants added Andrew Thomas and Matt Pert on the O-line. I don't know that Pert will be a starter, but Andrew Thomas for sure will be a starter from day one. I think that will help out Saquon towards another 1,000-yard season, maybe 1,500 yards. Keem, what do you think about Saquon? His chances of being a great rusher?
So I think that I think it's possible. I think if he stays healthy, I think the offensive line is definitely something that we needed to upgrade, and we did in the draft. And I believe in Andrew Thomas. We'll get into talking about him later. But yeah, I think Saquon is he shows you 1,000 yards, and he was injured. So I think when he's healthy, and when he's healthy, he's just a dominant running back, top 5 running back in the league. I personally think top 3. So I think if he, it really depends on other factors for him. It depending on what the Giants want. I know a new head coach. Running scheme might be different. They might not hand the ball off to him more, but I doubt they will because obviously it's Saquon Barkley. And then the offensive line. If that offensive line can can improve, then that, and it's funny to say because it's still not good, but it's better than last year. And even when it was really bad, Saquon was still getting over 1,000, 2,000 yards. So I would say overall, I think Saquon is if he stays healthy, and I think he's just an incredible running back, top 5 running back. So let's get into now the off season. So we just want to talk about. Let's start with free agency. So if you guys didn't know, the 2 main players we want to talk about is the middle linebacker Blake Martinez from the Green Bay Packers, and then the corner James Bradberry from the Panthers. So I guess we'll talk about Blake Martinez. I think it's a really underrated. I've said this a lot. A really underrated signing. If you guys haven't seen already, we did an NFC East ranking all the signings. So go watch that. I'll put that up here. And so if Alec Ogletree, huge problem last year, regressed really, really hard, especially from that first year he was with the Giants. What did he have, 3 interceptions or 4 interceptions?
I think he led the league.
Yeah,
close to it.
And a couple touchdowns, pick sixes. So I think linebacker is something we need. I don't believe in the other one, Mayo, and I think signing Blake Martinez is good. He's not old. He's a productive player. He can get tackles. He can get in the box and block run. So I think I'm happy with that signing as a Giants fan. I think that's definitely going to be a beneficial signing, and I think they're definitely happy to get him. So Charlie, what do you think about that signing?
So Blake Martinez, he was all right for Green Bay last year. I don't know that he'll be able to play any better in New York, especially under a not so great organization right now. Especially that defense is just not playing well. So I don't know that I love them picking up Blake Martinez. I know they needed a middle linebacker, but I don't know if they could have maybe invested in Joe Schobert, which was a huge middle linebacker coming out of Cleveland last year. That would have been a huge addition because right now the Giants' linebacking core, aside from Martinez, is the middle linebackers right now. Ryan Connolly, who only played, I think, 4 or 5 games last year, and was solid in those games. He had 2 interceptions, he had a sack, and 20 tackles. But other than him, it's just Ogletree, who I'm not sure they even have anymore. They may have let him go. And DJ Mayo, who they got last year, who's also on the older side. So I think Blake Martinez was sort of just they were trying to fill a need, and they did it in a pretty lazy way. I think Martinez, some people think he's underrated. I don't know. I think he's rated just fine. I think he's okay at best. But then let's talk about James Bradberry. He's stepping into a number 1 cornerback role with the only other guys who would even give him any competition being Grant Haley and DeAndre Baker, who are both second-year players coming into this year. And it's a cornerback position that's needed, again, just like linebacker. And Bradberry, I'm not sure that I think of him as a true number 1 corner. I think he's more of a number 2 corner, maybe a slot corner. So I don't know that he'll be able to keep up with Amari Cooper twice this season, and whoever else he has to play against at that number 1 receiver spot. I don't know that he'll be able to do so well against them. Kian, what do you think?
Yeah. So I like the pick. I'm saying I like everything. I don't. Yeah, I think it's a signing that they needed, and I think maybe going for Kendall Fuller here or maybe Darius Slay may have been a better option. As you guys know, they drafted Darnay Holmes in I think the 5th round from UCLA, very, very late, and steal pick. I think he's going to play well. I think if he gets some reps at slot, he'll become good. But I think Bradberry filled that role when Josh Norman was traded to the Redskins from the Panthers, and Bradberry has been the number 1 corner there. And I haven't heard too much negative things about him playing number 1. So I think the Giants like this signing. I think they didn't want to go for a huge flashy player, or not flashy, just high-paid player like Kendall Fuller or Darius Slay. So I think it's a good signing. I think it's a solid signing. Fills a role. I believe he's 26, and so I like it. I think he'll fill that he'll fill that role for then, and then maybe in the draft we go and pick up another secondary player. So let's go now to the draft, 2020 NFL draft, where the Giants, as we talked about, signed. I believe he's a right tackle or left tackle. He's a tackle. Andrew Thomas from Georgia at the 4th overall pick. I mean, I love this pick. I think, you were talking, he's the player who's projected to be, like, the best player now and, like, the most solid player, offensive lineman now. And I think it's great. He's going to go into an immediate starting role. He's going to need to protect Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley, both young players who need an offensive line to produce well. So I think he's going to go fit in perfectly, and I think he's going to play well, and I'm happy with that pick. I knew we were going offensive line. So, Andrew Thomas, welcome, because we need you. Charlie, what do you think about it?
So I think this is an interesting pick. Of course, our full analysis on the Andrew Thomas pick is in our NFL draft video, which was one of the first videos we had. But I think it's for sure an interesting pick. I think a lot of people thought the Giants were deciding between that tackle because there were so many good tackles and Isaiah Simmons, and I think they were leaning heavily towards the tackle. And I think it was really down to what people thought would be either Tristan Wirfs or some people Jedrick Wills. And they decided to go with Andrew Thomas, which I think was a very safe pick. I think drafting a guy like Mekhi Becton's a boom or bust prospect. He could play really, really well 3 years, or he could just turn out to be another 70 Madden overall, whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
And Andrew Thomas, their thought is that he's a solid player right now, and the best he'll ever be is an all-star, which is still great, but the best he'll ever be is an all-star, but the worst he'll do is a solid player. He won't completely bust for him.
Yeah.
So I think it was a safe pick, and they needed this player to protect Saquon, to protect Daniel Jones, try to keep his fumbles down, and they drafted, I think, the right player for that. And then in the second round, surprisingly enough for the Giants, Xavier McKinney was still on the board. And the Giants sort of need a safety to let Antoine Bethea go last year. He's, I think, 37 years old.
Yeah, way too
So
old.
he was a player they needed to let go. And they have Jabril Peppers, who they got from the Browns in the Odell Beckham trade. So that's right now looking like a good safety core right there with those two guys. Xavier McKinney, I think a lot of people had him in the first round, maybe second round, as the number one safety in the class. And I think the pick will pay off for them. I think it's a good pick. They got lucky to get him in the second round, and he's a solid player. He's got good hands. He's quick, and I think that'll be a good addition for their secondary, Kian.
Yeah. So the Andrew Thomas pick I liked, but this Xavier McKinney pick I was excited about. I was so happy that they took him here, especially when I heard he was on the board. I love this player. I think he's going to be a really, really fun player to watch, especially with Jabril Peppers. And that safety tandem is going to be there for a while. For a while because of
both young players.
Because they're both young. I think Jabril is either like 25 or 26. And I think
like
Xavier McKinney is going to be a really, really, really fun player to watch. Number one safety, and I'm going to be looking out for him. And I think that safety duo is going to be a thing that is going to be really, really powerful for the Giants.
Yeah.
And I think it's definitely going to pay off because of the lack at cornerback, although we signed James Bradbury. I think, if we get burnt, I think Xavier McKinney and Jabril Peppers are able to recover and get tackles. And I think Xavier McKinney, he's just a beast. He can get in the box, stop, run, and he can also cover players. So I think it's just a really good pick, and I think there's a complete steal here because I know I had him late first round.
Because Xavier McKinney is a 21-year-old safety, obviously rookie, and then Jabril Peppers is 24. This will be his third year in the NFL.
Oh, 24.
So that's so you've got two safeties for maybe the next 8 years for Jabril Peppers, and you've got like 10 out of McKinney.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like a future safety tandem to come. And then if the Giants can develop some of their corners or maybe draft a corner this coming year, I think that'll do wonders for their team, their defense. So now, Kian, how do you think they're going to size up the season record-wise?
So I believe that I had them at around 4-12, maybe 3-13. I think around there. But I think good season-wise, maybe 5-11, 6-10. So I think that is kind of varies depending on how their defense plays and how Andrew Thomas and Saquon are able to perform. Yeah, but I think around 4-12, 3-13, around there. Charlie, what do you think?
So I have the Giants at 5 wins. I'm looking at our sheet, our predictions. It says you have them at 3 wins. So 4 wins. But I have them 5 wins. I think it really could go either way. They've got the Steelers week 1 at home, which the Steelers have made some big moves over the past couple of years. The addition of Minka Fitzpatrick from the Dolphins, that could pose some problems for the Giants. So I think, and overall, it's actually a pretty tough schedule, surprisingly enough, just because we have Cowboys twice, Eagles twice, which are 2 teams that I think are probably going to be in the playoffs. The Buccaneers, we have the Seahawks, Cardinals, Browns, Ravens, because we get the Ravens division, which is a tough division with the Ravens, Browns, and Steelers. So I think not looking at the greatest year, 4 or 5 wins for the Giants. And they may at some point in the middle of the season decide to start tanking for maybe Jamar Chase or somebody else towards the top.
Yeah. All right, guys. That is it for the video. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't, make sure to like and subscribe. Any video ideas you guys want to see, make sure to drop a comment. And, yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. We're going to have daily videos, so make sure to stay tuned and watch those. Thank you guys so much.